Good morning and welcome to Mystical Teachings from the Tanya. Rabbi Ronnie Fine coming to you from Chabad Zirchen Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We say good morning, as we do every morning. To Dam from Indonesia, welcome. Robert is with us in Boston, shalom. Michael, good afternoon to you in sunny Germany. Jane in the Philippines, good evening and welcome. Diane is with us. Fellow Canadian in London, Ontario. In Australia, June, good evening. It's late. Tony is with us. From Costa Rica, shalom. John in North Carolina, welcome. Nathan, shalom. Andrew in New Jersey, drive safely. Clem in Brisbane, good evening. Davida and Liba in New York, Boker Tov. Pamela is with us in Virginia. Hello, Virginia in Calgary, Boker Tov. Lardana, shalom. Daisy in Yerushalayim, the holy city, welcome. Darren in the Philippines, good evening. Lionel, good afternoon. And it must be somewhere across the ocean. In Florida, Zaneda is with us. Greg and Paula in Bakersfield, California. Bright early morning. Welcome. Natasha, good morning to you. Deborah in Kitchener, good morning. David in California, also bright and early. Heather's with us in North Connecticut. Julia in Florida. Who else? Erica. In afternoon to you in Norway. Elaine in Georgia, welcome. In Morocco, we have Rabbi with us. Good afternoon. Rena in Colorado. Boker Tov. Pawik's in the Philippines. Oh, we got a lot of people from the Philippines today. Michael in Virginia. We have Vilma and Mare, Lana, Lindsay, Sarah, and Crystal, Reggie, Eliza, Christo. Okay. We're continuing in the 9th chapter, trying to understand the exaltedness of God as creator. Well, there's God as he is beyond creator, and there's God as creator. So what we explained yesterday, and before that, in the human condition, there's 5 degrees of separation. From intelligence, from our wisdom, all the way to the power of doing an action. The power of doing an action, like me picking up a mug, moving this mug, compared to the complexity of the mind, of the intelligence of the mind, Chabad, Chachma Bina V'das, very much exalted and much greater. No comparison. We know nothing about the mind, what it really, the capacity of the mind, compared to a mere action. Again, moving the mug, holding onto the mug, and so on. And the reason we say that, aside from the fact of it, is to give us a little understanding about God. That there's nothing in the human experience that's more distant between those two things, intelligence. There's nothing in all of creation greater than the mind, human intelligence. And the less, the most simplistic thing that there is action. So how far and removed intelligence is from action. So that was a metaphor for us to understand how far removed God is himself from creation. Even the intelligence of creation, he is far removed. Now, infinitely so. So why do we give it a metaphor of something that is only finite, finite distinction between our intelligence and our capacity of action? We don't mean that, by the way, the value of your actions. Your value of actions might be much greater than your intelligence. When you do a mitzvah, when you do something good, we're talking about the light of the soul as it infuses and gives life to intelligence versus life to a mere action. The vitality that it takes, and hence the complexity in the creative force. That's what we're talking about, right? At the value, how important that one action can be and change someone's life and so on. So, if the metaphor really doesn't fit, in other words, there's only 5 degrees of separation between our intelligence and action, and again, in the human experience, there's no greater descent. So, and then by God, though, it's infinitely greater descent. So much so that before God, action and wisdom are equal. So why we give this metaphor, doesn't really fit ultimately, because ultimately this is the only thing we can understand in order to give us some inkling about God and understanding Him. Understanding Him versus understanding Him as Creator. What do I mean? Well, first of all, why is that important to understand? So we don't understand. So we just say, okay, God is infinite. We can't understand Him. Why are we trying to play a game over here with something that is way beyond us? So we're not playing a game. And the reason why we're doing this is very simple. In a relationship that's meaningful to you, you want to understand the best you can that person. Why? You don't want to understand. So you just accept them. This is who they are. You don't get them. Why are you trying to understand them? Because if the relationship is important to you and you want to get closer to them, a deeper bond, the more you understand them, the deeper the bond will be. So with God, if we want to have a deeper relationship, it's not just faith. Faith is beyond intelligence, so we need to use our intelligence to bring it into as much of an intelligence that we can have in our understanding of God. That will enhance our relationship with Him. That will deepen the relationship. So let's understand over here. So when we say God is high and He's exalted, He's infinitely beyond wisdom, what it really means to say is you can't even ascribe wisdom to God. And what does that mean? I mean, it doesn't mean to say that God is so wise that He's way beyond anything I could get. I could get His wisdom. No. Wisdom doesn't apply to Him. Wisdom does not apply to Him. I know that sounds a little odd. Oh, no wonder He's been acting that way recently, right? That's, I was wondering why my spouse, my good friend, has been acting so weird lately. Oh, he's got no wisdom, no intelligence. That's why we would. No, that's not what it means over here. What it means, we can't say that God's intelligence, His wisdom is so far beyond us, we just don't get it. No. Wisdom and intelligence doesn't apply to Him. He's not within the realm of comprehension. It's not that He's beyond our comprehension, so much so. He is not in the realm of comprehension. But where's comprehension come from? It comes from Him. But He's way beyond it. It emanates from Him, but doesn't define Him, doesn't limit Him. So what does God do? Well, He does wisdom. He does wisdom, and that's what it means in Tehillim when we say that you made them with wisdom. It means he does, he makes, he does wisdom. Is that him? No. Not because he's got just a very sublime, infinite wisdom. No, he's beyond any form of wisdom. God is bilti mitzias nimtza. He is without being. He is found, which is kind of a contradiction. He's a being, but not found. He's not found. Yeah, we can only speak about beings. Wisdom is a thing. Is God a thing? No, he's no thing. That's where people make the mistake. Oh, he's nothing because he's no thing. That's where they make a mistake. Because he's beyond wisdom, not because he's beyond wisdom, he is not within the parameters of wisdom, without the definition at all. So it's like this. Imagine, if there's a lofty concept over here that we're trying to comprehend, right? And I would say to you, did you get this lofty concept? Did you grab it in your hands? Did you touch it with your hands? It's a very difficult one, maybe it's beyond your touch. If I say that to you, obviously you're going to look at me a little weird. Say, well, that doesn't make sense. Lofty wisdom cannot be touched to begin with. Right? There is no touch when you apply it to an abstract idea. Only to a physical idea you can have a touch of something. Right? So likewise, God's intellect. And the divine intellect and the divine and actual physical action are on the same level. There's no distinction. Maybe to give us a metaphor that we can appreciate and understand this. Rabbi Hillel Paracher said about him who was a great chassid of the Midler Rebbe, Tzemach Tzedek. So he said that Isaac Humler, who was like the genius of geniuses, says, me and a cat, like the distinction of me and a cat. That's how much greater Isaac Humler is than me. So he says, don't make a mistake to think that the distance between me and the cat in intelligence is the distance between me and him. No. Before Isaac Humler, me and a cat stand equal. Now, what does that mean? How do we understand that? The point over here is intelligence, divine intelligence, not human intelligence, divine intelligence, as it is in Atzilus, emanated from God, but an action, the act of something, of God, right, that makes a stone, are equal before him. Why? Because action has no relationship to him, to God, the essence of God. And intelligence has no relationship to him. He is infinitely removed from it. Not that he is a compound and made up of this. No, he's infinitely removed from it. And yet one with it. Yet it emanates from him. Right? Divine intelligence in the world of Atzilus, it emanates from him, but not at all defined by him. So interesting. So when we speak about, what God does, you know what he does? He does intelligence. He does kindness. He does chesed, gvura, all of the 10 attributes. In a sense, that's what he does. And who he is way beyond what he does. Just like by us, we are way beyond what we do. Well, God's infinitely even more than that, way beyond. And therefore not defined at all by intelligence. Not even by kindness. Again, not to say that he's not intelligent or not kind, but from the essence of God, he is completely removed from it, that you can't even say that it is, that has any relationship to him. Yet again, it emanates from him and not separate from him. As we're going to go more into that. It's a very abstract, lofty idea. Any questions? Any comments? Linda, I know now that wisdom doesn't apply to God. He makes wisdom, but is beyond the form. Is beyond the form of wisdom, right? And I know now that understanding of the oneness the Creator created, the process of creation deepens our awe in absolutely everything. Very good, excellent. Timeless molecule to endless universe. Very good. Okay, Yana. Go ahead.
Good morning.
Good
Hi,
morning.
good morning. Hi. Based on everything you're saying, I was wondering if I'm thinking along the right framework when we look at the very literal text of Gracious One, where it says Bereshit bara Elohim, where it basically says in the beginning created God. Not that the basically our understanding of how we say who Hashem is and the Creator is, and is basically filtered by the phrase in the beginning. Like that, the creation is the vessel of our understanding of Him. But because Genesis starts with a Beit versus an Aleph, it's telling us that there's so much more beyond what we can understand it to be.
Right. Yes. So,
okay.
Actually, it's interesting, right? Bereshit is starting with a base. The second letter of the Aleph base is to tell us that we're at the second point, right? And that point is interesting. The Targum says Bereshit is Chochmasa, wisdom. In other words, with wisdom, God created heaven and earth. So that's, you see, the Aleph is who God is. The base is that what God does. What does God do? He does Chachma. So with Chachma, that's how we created heaven and earth. So yeah, that ties in exactly. And so, the story in Genesis is not telling us who God is. It's telling us what God does. Who God is more, when it comes like to the Ten Commandments. I'm the Lord your God who took you out of Egypt. What do you mean I'm the Lord your God who took you out of Egypt? I'm the Lord your God that created heaven and earth. Why are you speaking about I'm the Lord your God who took you out of Egypt? That's great. Thank you. Well, we appreciate it very much so. But if you want to give your business card and and your great accomplishments, creating heaven and earth is much greater accomplishment than taking us out of Egypt. That's true in a sense. In a sense, it's true. However, that's missing the point. When we speak about bechachma, with wisdom, God creates, does, and his doing and wisdom are like on equal footing relative to him. That's what he does. That's what he does. But Ten Commandments is speaking to the Jewish people about our personal relationship with God. I'm your God. I'm the Lord your God. Yours. Personal to you. So much so that I took you out of Egypt then, and I take you out of Egypt now. I take you out of your limitations. I help you to connect to me, and through that you can rise and be exalted and to fulfill the purpose that you were created. That's not God and what he does. That's God who he is. Who is he? Someone that I have a personal relationship to. Someone that the Jewish people have a collective relationship as the Jewish people, as the chosen people of God Almighty. That's who God is, and that is beyond any actions or doing or creation that God engages and does. But just to put this, I'm just giving you the context of this in order that we can appreciate that that's important to understand. Here, what we're talking about, though, is the power creator within creation. So we can know God not just on the personal level through Torah and mitzvahs and how we can be connected to Him and to fulfill the purpose why He created us, but at the same time, we want to know Him. So to know Him is through what He does. Well, one of the ways to know Him, rather. It's not the only way. To know Him is through what He does. What does He do? Chachma, Bereshis, Bechachma. With Chachma, He makes heaven and earth. Okay, so let me understand with my Chabad, with my understanding, my intelligence, let me understand the process of creation so I could know Him. And by knowing Him, I won't just have faith in Him, but I will deepen my relationship, as I explained earlier, that when we have an understanding of a person, right, and we know them, we appreciate them so much more so, rather than just, making space for them, respecting them, which is very the beginning. You need to make their space and respect them. But if you can appreciate and get to know and understand, it will deepen the relationship. And that's what we're doing over here, that we can deepen our relationship with God through knowing Him, through what He does as a creator. Does that clarify things, Liliana?
Yes, thank you very much. Very much so.
You're very welcome. All right, let me go over here to Facebook to see if there's any questions. Question mark before the question, so I can make sure. Thank you for bringing that up, because definitely Samantha, I don't see. Andrew, did we limit our understanding of God by limiting us to 10 attributes? Through the 10 attributes, that's how we can come to know God. That's why God created us with 10 powers of the soul that are similar to His in some manner. And by understanding those in us, we can understand a little more about Him. Absolutely. Greg, are not God's ways past finding out? God's ways. Well, that's what we're doing. We're trying to find out His ways. It's Creator. That's exactly where we're going with all this. I'm not going to look for. I can't. It's very difficult to find things if you don't put question marks first. Okay, Daisy, you put a question mark afterwards. Please put it beforehand. So if He is beyond wisdom and beyond everything, why are we trying to learn about Him and trying to understand Him? Again, the essence of God is beyond. He emanates from Him 10 divine attributes: wisdom, understanding, knowledge, and kindness, severity, or power, and all of the 10 divine attributes. Through those 10 attributes, we can have an understanding of God, both in what He does and in other aspects, something about Him. But that's not our focus over here. Okay? So, because we want to understand as best as we can, just because you might not be able to understand anything about your spouse, does that mean you should not try? Try to understand whatever you can. So likewise with God, we're trying to understand as best as we can. So do we limit it to the 10 attributes? No, because there's that's the basis of it, but it's not limited to that. Okay, thank you, Daisy. Okay. Okay, I think I got everybody. I think so. I hope so. All right. All right, folks. Anybody else? Lindsay, Sarah, Mayor, Vilma. All right. Great. I don't see on Instagram any questions. Nope. All right, folks. To be continued. I know it's a very, abstract and lofty idea, but if we are persistent to try to learn this, we're going to see that, we're going to come away with a much more profound appreciation, even though we might not be able to give it over, we may not be able to express it, but we're going to have a sense that there is something so much more of God's presence in creation, and that will bring us closer. Absolutely. All right. Samantha, you have a question? Sorry, I didn't see it. Try again. Oh, so it wasn't the question beforehand. And now I lost it. Sorry. The comments at a certain point kind of disappear on this setup over here. All right. Tomorrow, try again, Samantha, if you don't mind. Okay? I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad.Chabad in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have a wonderful day, a good Erev Rosh Chodesh.